everybody, it's Michelle from thesavvymind.com. How are you? I know it feels like I have not done a video in years, and I apologize because we're still doing renovation. Hence the door behind me, so you'll just have to excuse that. I wanted to share with you today a conversation that I had with a client. It was a guy, a man, and he owns a relatively successful contracting company. He's a general contractor, and he also sells organic gold, which is that coffee. And he loves that, loves the coffee. So two things I thought were really interesting out of our conversation. One, he said that he made $125,000 from a client, but he had nothing to show for it. And so my response to that was, part of being okay with abundance is to be able to earn money, keep money, and grow money. Because if you cannot do all three of those, then there's some sort of a block going on. And you're always going to kind of return back to that, that set point that you're used to, if you cannot do all three of those. So that's something that you want to be aware of for yourself. If you can't do all three of those, then there is some sort of a block. So that was the first thing that came out of that conversation. The next thing that came out of that conversation was the fact that he buys his clothes at a thrift store. Now, this man does not need to buy his clothes at a thrift store. He makes enough money that he doesn't have to buy his clothes at a thrift store. And, because I am brain-based as much as I am manifestation and all that stuff, you have to understand when you do that kind of thing, what are you doing? You're reinforcing that scarcity message to your brain. So I told him, I'm like, you can't do that anymore. I mean, and I'm not saying that if you don't have the money to go to a store, fine. I get that. And I don't want you to think I'm being uppity about this. However, I really do want you to be aware of the messages that you're sending to your brain when you do that. Because your brain is picking up, I can't afford to shop anywhere else. So what I recommend, if you do have to shop at a thrift store, just due to circumstances, that you make sure you spend more money there than you've ever spent before at one time. So if you go in and typically spend $25, I want you to spend $35. Okay? If you usually spend $50, I want you to spend $75. So that you're sending this message to abundance. If you don't need to shop there, then don't. I highly recommend that you take something and buy yourself something that's more expensive than you would ever buy before. I personally like bagged purses. Okay, so I have spent an ungodly amount of money on a purse, okay, which I would never have done before. But you know what? I like purses, and I wanted to buy a cool purse, and so I treated myself. And I feel really good about that. Excuse me, I feel really good about that. And it makes me feel like I'm not scarce, that money is not scarce, because I firmly believe you'll always make more money. I firmly believe that. It's just how we open our minds. So those are two things. A lot of times people will do too, they'll recommend that you take a $100 bill and put it in your wallet where you can't find it, so that you always have a $100 bill. So if you want to try that as well. But he did grow up in a very poor family. So yes, obviously he's got past programming going on, but it wasn't until we had this conversation that I realized to the extent and what kind of blocks were there. So I wanted you to be aware of if you have similar blocks, so that you'll know that you've got things that you want to work on. So that's really all I wanted to share. I hope this was helpful. If it was, comment below. Love to hear from you, and I will talk to you soon. Have a great day. Love you guys. See you soon. Bye.